Why won't blackface go away? It's part of America. For more than 180 years, racist stereotypes have been used to entertain. By Will Haygood. He keeps showing up, like some slightly bemused and maniacal houseguest, usually intending to get a laugh but instead taking America back into a wicked time warp. The Man in Black. We find ourselves in this situation again after a photo last week showing a man in blackface standing next to a man in a Ku Klux Klan robe on the medical school yearbook page of government. Ralph Northam of Blackface in America just won't go away. You consistently showing up at stag parties, on frat row, in college musicals and elsewhere. But the persistence of blackface is unsurprising. It has been a part of it started during President Andrew Jackson's presidency, said Raylan Barnes, a professor of American cultural history at Princeton and the author of the forthcoming Darkology, When the American Dream Wore Blackface. She added that for show business impresarios, there was money to be made in perpetuating such stereotypes. A partial list of people who have appeared in blackface on screen and stage in the 186 years since Rice's performance on the Bowery includes Desi Arnaz, Fred Astaire, Dan Aykroyd, Freeman Gosden, and Charles Correll from Amos and Andy, Ethel Barrymore, Milton Berle, Jimmy Cagney, Joan Crawford, Bing Crosby, Billy Crystal, Ted Danson, Marion Davies, Robert Downey Jr., Judy Garland, Alec Guinness, Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, Benny Hill, Bob Hope, Boris Karloff, Buster Keaton, Hedy Lamarr, Janet Leigh, Harold Lloyd, Sophia Loren, Myrna Loy, the Marx Brothers, David Niven, Laurence Olivier, Will Rogers, Mickey Rooney, Frank Sinatra, Grace Slick, Spencer Tracy, Shirley Temple, John Wayne, Mae West, Gene Wilder and the Three Stooges. Read our critic of government. Northam's situation. Its longevity is because it's been institutionalized into every aspect of American life, Dr. Barnes said. People have judging from not only various records of campus life but also the numerous Instagram accounts of women appearing as black personalities. A phenomenon known as You Many Do Not Know Better. The popularity of blackface was at its height in the early 20th century and has waned sharply since the 50s, but it certainly hasn't disappeared. Rather, it has. In 1986, Soul Man was a major Hollywood release, featuring C. Thomas Howell in blackface, posing as an African American to reap the rewards of affirmative action. As recently as, if one were looking for a historical case study in celebrating blackface, well, one could proceed straight to the White House of Woodrow Wilson. Wilson knew Thomas. The heroes of the novel were Ku Klux Klansmen who came to the rescue of the white populace. From the book, the stage adaptation of Harriet Beecher Stowe's 1852 novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin, provided an additional layer of irony. The book, as the 19th century wore on, the country swooned over minstrel and vaudeville productions, which often used burnt cork or shoe polish to darken performers' faces. And over Al Joel's blackface was such a surefire route to popularity that even black performers started wearing it. Bert Williams, in perhaps one of the more heartbreaking developments, black child actors were enlisted in blackface acts, including an elementary school-aged Sammy Davis Jr. He was a black child. One of the landmark radio shows in American history was Amos and Andy, which began in 1928 and featured white actors portraying black characters. It was rife with by then, though, blackface was such an ingrained part of popular American culture, enacted so widely across entertainment media, that it had passed from the stage and screen to everyday life for many. A joke that could be. Will Haygood, a visiting professor at Miami University, Ohio, has written biographies of Sammy Davis, Jr., Thurgood Marshall, and Sugar Ray Robinson. His latest book,
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.